Hello, good afternoon, and welcome, or actually, good afternoon, or it could be good evening, it could be good morning. This is our third, I think, stint of our lunchtime live shows. I have wanted to do a few more of these over the last couple of weeks because the first couple went really well, but matches, time, etc., hasn't allowed us to do it. But we are back, and we will try and do these quite regularly, 2 or 3 times a week, just rounding up any Villa news, reflecting on previous matches, talking about potential matches to come. And yeah, you guys get involved in the comments while you're on your lunch break in the middle of your day. Sam, happy Friday, mate! Joining me for lunchtime live. How you feeling? How you feeling generally? First, we'll get into Villa in a second. How you doing, mate?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm doing all right. Um, all is right in the world. I don't do many of these midday lunchtime shows, so I'm excited. It's finally it's like light in my room for the first time. I'm not sat here in the dark. I don't look like
Ex-
I'm in a sex dungeon or
yeah,
whatever everyone claims that.
yeah. No. They've been good, mate. They've been really good. Yeah, people drop in and out of it. We've had hellos from Jamaica. We've had people obviously watching in Australia, as Steve is here. So that's fantastic. Lewis is in the chat as well. Really good. So let us know in the chat where you're watching it from. And yeah, it's great just to see other people or watching the channel from different time zones and all that. I've pinned at the top. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 4,000. So yeah, if you're new to the channel or if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the like button and then subscribe to the channel. So yeah, obviously I was itching to get on yesterday, but as I said, I had a busy day with work yesterday, so couldn't jump on. But maybe a day after to reflect. I did like my match reaction. I don't think I was too ranty on that one, just because I think your opinions on kind of the FA Cup, in terms of priorities, were quite clear the other day, Sam. Um, but for me, it was kind of like the manner of the defeat that kind of got me, and it was almost like the blueprint for beating Villa has almost been found, and that's I guess the slight concern at the moment for me. I don't know, like your thoughts on after reflecting on Wednesday night's game and performance.
Yeah, I mean it was a strange one. I think it was six of one, half a dozen of the other in terms of Chelsea played well, but also we weren't very good. It's I've always said we've got so much to focus on this season. I felt like the FA Cup was a distraction, but then obviously we were against the Chelsea side that's been pretty poor recently. Shipped four to Wolves, shipped four to Liverpool. Look pretty underwhelming every time they play. Obviously, I was at the game at Stamford Bridge for the first go at the FA Cup, and then you kind of see like the next round was Leeds or Plymouth, and it was like, oh, hold on a second here, like you could progress, but I think in general I wasn't too fussed about the FA Cup. I was more concerned about the performance and obviously the manner of the defeat and the problems at Villa in terms of form that we've sort of seen since that Bournemouth game.
Yeah, yeah, it just seems to be, and I don't. We're not going to go this into like a real negative. So yeah, guys, keep watching because we're not gonna we're not just gonna have a moan fest here. I do want to go into positives about what we can do to kind of get out of it, and I do think quite a lot of it is quite simple. Football is obviously overcomplicated by people who want to look too much in, look really deeply into things, and many times it's goals at the right time. It's players working that little bit harder, and sometimes just a little change here, a little change there can kind of turn it around. But I don't think it would be. I think it'd be remiss of us not to look at and be slightly concerned with what's happening, because it kind of breeds through, and we saw on Wednesday in particular, the likes of Kamara giving the ball away quite cheaply, and then it spread to like Tielemans and McGinn, who when they were kind of feeding off scraps, but when they did get the ball, they were just almost passing it out of play or giving it straight to the opposition, and those type of things do spread through a team, and it's really important to kind of look at that and try and I guess understand why that's happening and try and rectify it. So yeah, as I say, I don't think it's like anything really crazy in terms of being really negative, but I do think there are one or two players that aren't performing at the level, and you see how important they are when they're not.
Yeah, there seems to be certain things that we kind of trip up on, don't and I've kind of noticed now with like those pacey wingers, skillful wingers seem to really um be a problem for us. Like Madueke was sort of gave us hell. Um, Anthony Gordon gave us gave us a bit of a bad time. And in general, it's that kind of that pace. I don't think you take Esri out of that back four. I don't think we're blessed with like massive amounts of pace anywhere across that back four. Moreno, in theory, is supposed to be quite quick, but he's also a little
Mm,
bit lightweight, so he gets pushed off the ball quite easily. And then obviously Longley and Diego Carlos are, Carlos is just built like a brick house, so it's hard for him to achieve any sort of speed. And then um, Longley has never been very quick, and Matty Cash is somewhere in the middle. So yeah, I don't know. It was one of those. I noticed obviously from your post Chelsea reaction, you focused on the midfield a lot and losing possession, and um, yeah, I don't know. I'm sure we'll go into it, but I think there's a number of reasons why performances haven't been great, and I don't think it's exclusive to the midfield.
nah, no, I agree. I agree. I totally agree with you. It's 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 never like one thing, is it? I also said on that kind of piece after the game, you've got the defense is almost caught in between a rock and a hard place with regards to when they've got the ball, because they're passing it across the back. They're looking for that incisive pass into midfield. Both all midfielders seem to be marked, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of movement. So then they're thinking, well, the manager wants us to play it into midfield, but we don't seem to have any options to pass it into midfield. So we're going to have to play it long. We play it long, and we know that's not necessarily Ollie Watkins' strength in terms of the hold up play or the flick on, because, and let's face it, he probably doesn't have that many people to flick it on to. And then you're trying to then play a really difficult pass to kind of play Leon Bailey in, and that's where we're kind of in a difficult spot, because it kind of just compounds, because then you pass it into midfield, they're under pressure, they'll one of them gives it away, or you play a long ball upfield, it goes out of play or it gets blocked off, and then we're on the back foot. So it's almost like a what's the word, well, it's like a snowball effect, I guess, in terms of the problems that can mount.
Yeah, I don't know how you want to tackle it, but I think there's a bunch of issues, and you're right. You were talking about sort of being able to play out from the back. The first problem that you've got is if you look at what Villa were doing really well at the start of the season, was that back line was just synchronized. It was like synchronized swimming. Everyone's arms were in the same place, everyone's brain was in the same place, and the high line has clearly worked. But it works when they're in a line. And I've
Hmm.
said this before, against Chelsea and in other games this season against Newcastle, they're not in a straight line. There's like they're separated, so one person's a little bit deeper than the others, and that if you look at the number of offsides we were getting at the start of the season, the numbers were crazy. I think we were double any other team in the league by sort of December, and then all of a sudden now I can't remember catching Chelsea offside um, in that game, and it's because the line isn't straight and they're not working in sync. Now you could say that's because it's a back four that hasn't really played together much this season, but I would argue they all know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. I've seen one of the comment there from is it Deco Blanco? He
Yeah.
says we're down to our fourth and fifth choice centre backs. I mean, I'll give you Longley probably is our last choice centre back, but Diego Carlos was brought in for a significant amount of money. He's a £30 million centre back that we bought from Sevilla. Like, he's not a fourth. We didn't bring him in for that kind of money for a fourth choice as a fourth choice centre back. He's the argument used to be who's going to play next to him? Is it going to be Pau Torres? Is it going to be Mings? Where's Consa going to go? Like Diego Carlos was supposed to be the guy Matty Cash is our only right back, so he has to be first choice. And Alex Moreno, I would argue, is our first choice left back as well. So I don't think it's I don't think personnel is the issue. I'm not sitting there. Obviously, Pau Torres makes a world of difference. I think he's one of the best centre backs in the league. So he's always going to be a miss. You take a player of that quality out of any side, and they'll be a worse off. But I look at that team that we started against Chelsea, and I would say it's pretty apart from the defense, pretty close to full strength. And another thing that I've seen is people talk about fatigue, and
Well,
I just
Gareth mentioned that, didn't he,
Gareth,
in our chat?
yeah, and I just disagree with him because if you look at Longley, Cash, Moreno, and Carlos have not started that many games this year. Even Leon Bailey, we rant and rave about him and wax lyrical. Leon Bailey's only started 10 games this season.
Yeah, yeah.
Leon Bailey started 10 games this season. Now Ollie Watkins, obviously he starts every game, so if he's
McGinn.
tired, you understand McGinn. But even like Kamara's he had those 3 games where he didn't play because of his red card at Brentford. Injuries. Tielemans wasn't playing for
Mm,
large periods of the season. Dougie's pretty much a mainstay, so fair enough. But if you really look at that team, and obviously Emi Martinez, but goalkeepers play every game anyway. If you look at that team, there are only really about 3 players, McGinn, Watkins, and Dougie, who have really started loads of games this season. So I personally, I don't buy the fatigue thing. I think they had a break. They had, you know, in the space of between what was it, the 30th of December and the 26th of January, they played 2 games, um, and then I know they played quite a few games after that. But I mean, we've got to be honest at some point and say, I don't think you can look at personnel, you can look at fatigue, you can look at the way the opposition is playing, but I think you have to take a look at the players' mentality at Villa. And I think that the main culprit for this dip of form is like a dip in confidence, a dip in mentality, and maybe the occasion getting on top of the boys a little bit. We're we were what's joint top of the league
mm,
going into the year. The Europa Conference League, everyone is taking that as a given, as well, when that's not necessarily the case. But we're well in that, and the expectations have shifted. The
mm.
expectations have shifted to top four and to win the Conference League, and maybe that's playing on the player's mind a little bit. Maybe
Yeah.
that's where they're at. They're just, I hate to say bottling it because I don't really like the expression, but maybe there is an element of choking at crunch time.
Yeah, I mean, we're only just over halfway through the season, so it's not even got to that point yet. I need
It
to,
is though. It's still
yeah.
at a point now. It's like
No,
this.
no, I get
Like
you,
this
I
game
get you.
against Man
Yeah,
United.
I
How
agree.
important is that
Yeah,
for top four?
I,
Like
I, I totally
this is a
agree
big
with you.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I totally agree. It'll be so Villa to kind of choke at this point and then start playing well when there's no chance of the top four again. Like,
Martin O'Neill days.
yeah, yeah.
We've
So
seen it
yeah,
before.
yeah. I just need to shout out Popper, £10 super chat. Thanks for the superb content, guys. Up the Villa. Awesome, mate. Thank you so much for your contribution there. And yeah, like I say, we want to jump on and do more of these lunchtime ones because I think they're really good just to get people chatting over their lunch break and stuff, and get people involved. So we've also got Villa Samba Brazil saying good morning from Northeast Brazil. We've got Midnight Mark from Rainy Hugglescote, which is great. And I did see Rugby, Philip from Rugby as well. Aaron's in the chat as well, with his usual choice of language. But yeah, Emery has no plan B, which I do want to come to in a second. I have got the analysis from Gareth from the Newcastle game, but I think it's quite similar. I think it was almost like almost like a carbon copy of the game the other night, and it is interesting to see kind of where the high pressing and then you substitute Newcastle for Chelsea. Um, and this was Chelsea as well in their home game. But you look, teams are really putting pressure on, say, a Louise and a Kamara, and then those pacey wingers, like you say. Gordon was against Cash, obviously. The other night, Jackson came across out to that left quite a bit, and then obviously Madueke on the right for Chelsea. But yeah, you see teams really pressing us to stop us from getting it back, forcing us to play it long. Um, is that I mean, is that kind of an evidence that we don't really have a full sort of plan B right now? Are we going to have to try and find a different way of playing? I will come to in a minute about ways that we might be able to get around it. But yeah, do you think that that's something that we really need to be concerned about?
Not, no, if I'm being honest, because if we look at, I'm sure you could pull up a bunch of graphics from the start of the season where we were getting pressed really high, and the
Mm,
thing like we all saw it, like proper squeaky bum time, like we were getting pressed and the balls flying around the back four, and you were like watching like that for half the thing. But
yeah,
we always
yeah,
managed.
yeah, yeah.
But we were playing like really brilliant stuff, and we were passing our way out of it, and then we were feeding the midfield, and then you were getting Dougie and Kamara to turn, and I think we we've been we were playing really good stuff. The issue that I think you've got is, I think you've got again a lack of confidence, and then you've got the elements for a lack of quality. Now I've noticed Matty Cash getting targeted quite a lot. Like I feel like he's being bullied, because he's people are just looking at him and saying, right, well he's either going to give the ball away or we can get it from his passing isn't great. Pressure him, pressure that left hand side, and that's like you just mentioned, Jackson going out to that, to our right, to their left, um, and I'm not blaming Matty Cash. It's not, this is a whole team underperforming,
Yeah,
but
yeah, 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 yeah.
so I'm
Because
not
he
having a
because
go.
he's caught in a difficult position because with that your touch has got to be perfect, and sometimes Cash, you see it, like he'll have his first touch, it'll bounce a little bit, and then he's got to have another touch and then take it on,
Yeah,
and that those split seconds are a lot. And also there's the other point where I don't know who it was on Twitter, it might be the actual Talking Tactics channel, they were saying that Cash goes forward, Kamara drops into that position. If we don't get the passing right, then the midfield is left bare because Kamara's vacated that position, and then teams can exploit that space.
that's
So
true, but
there's
I mean that shouldn't really be the case though, because we're technically playing four centre mids. We're
I
playing
know, I
we're
know,
playing
yeah, yeah,
Kamara, Dougie, McGinn, and Tielemans, who are all traditionally, I would say, centre
yeah.
midfielders. Um, but it's I, I, I find it quite hard. I know that you said we're not going to rant and moan. We're going to try and look at what we can do positively. I must have missed the memo because I thought we were here for a good old moan.
No,
Because
that's all right, mate. You can if you
I
want. You
no,
can
no,
if you
no.
want.
It's not even that. I just don't know what's different. Do you know what I mean? Like, I understand teams playing well against us and figuring us out and X, Y, and Z, but it doesn't explain the what's missing in our game. It doesn't explain sort of the lack of intensity, the lack of being able to pass the ball. Um, doesn't explain the changes in our own performances. Fine,
I I
teams have
agree.
managed to,
Yeah.
maybe if we're conceding more goals, you could say fine. Teams have worked out how to work against that high line and X, Y, and Z. And you do see a lot of low block against Villa because we're so slow to bring the ball up. And teams have realised as soon as Villa have got the ball, just drop, because what they're going to do is they're going to play it round the width of the pitch about four times before anyone takes a shot, or they're going to try and do something clever. And there's very rarely. I think there were a couple of times against Chelsea when I was just like, just have a shot, have a
Mm,
shot. I think Diaby
hmm
had one where I was just like, he got to the edge and he tried, or Leon Bailey, and tried to slide it into someone, and you just thought, just have a pop, see what you can do. You've got this young keeper in that they brought in from the MLS, who Petrovic, to be fair to him, he's quite good actually.
mm.
I've been impressed with him a couple of times I've seen him, but work him, give it a go, raise the confidence, raise the noise level in Villa Park, give the fans something to get excited about. And you saw it as soon as Diaby scored. It was the 90th minute,
I know, it was
there or
mad. Like
thereabouts,
the intent,
and
yeah, the intensity just changed.
the
Yeah.
entire stadium went. And I think a massive part of Villa's problem, and this isn't recent, I think this has been all season, is we don't start playing really until the 70th minute. We're
Mm.
so lax and so slow to build up, and then 70 minutes onwards, we're like, all right, fine, let's kick into gear now, let's try. And it's like, where's how many times have you said that for watching a game this season? Just say,
Where
um,
was that Villa before?
yeah, yeah. Why have we only just started playing? Why we started playing on 60th minute? Why does it take a change? Leon Bailey's going to make such an impact. Why isn't he starting? Like, there's just a bunch of things that you know are not going right for Villa at the moment, and I think the problem is you've got half the fan base who are looking. I mean, even Stan Collymore said it the other night. He said, on Twitter, it was shared with us, and he basically said, since that Bournemouth game, or since that Arsenal game, we've been pretty poor. Um,
Glad me
so
and Stan are on the same page.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we've both been saying it. Like the
Yeah,
performances just haven't been great, even in places where we've got results. That last minute penalty that we needed to beat Burnley, and that's only from agent Aaron Ramsey. Uh, he was he's still on the books clearly. So it was. I think the problem is we've been underperforming, or we've not been performing well for a while now. People can say that's a dip in form, and every team has had one, and that's fine. That's true, but our dip's gone on for a while now, so we need to look. If we're going to get out of it, if we expect top four, if that's really what we're challenging for the Champions League, I don't know if you've seen that meme of, I think it was like a Turkish manager of a Sunday league team, and he just goes around and he slaps every player in the changing room as he's shouting at them. I think we need one of those moments, and we just
I agree.
need
Yeah,
everyone to
yeah,
focus
yeah,
up.
yeah. Well, Stan said it himself. Like, there's nothing like a good old rollicking to shake up some players, and it looks like some of them need. I actually thought to myself today, and I hate bringing him back up, but I actually thought to myself, this might be why Mr. Gerrard, I call him Mr. Gerrard, got annoyed with someone like a Douglas Luiz, because sometimes like you just want to shake him, and you think like he's strolling about the pitch in both those games, Newcastle and Chelsea. We're 3-0 down. He's putting his foot on the ball. He's rolling it across. He's chest out, blah blah blah. I'm still playing well. I can still put this finesse on these passes. And you're thinking, mate, we're 3-0 down. Like, and you almost think you want someone to pull him up by his lapels, like, in the change room, and say, you're the one who needs to sort it out. Like, you're the one in the midfield who needs to sort your head out, like sort it out. And it's something of that intensity. And that's why I'm saying it seems like it's quite simple, that'll kind of shake us out of this kind of bit of a malaise. Is just go back to what you were doing before, that was simple. Do what you're good at, and just do it with more intensity. And then that midfield area as well, like exactly like you said, Sam. Kamara drops into that right back position. That was brilliant. That was causing us to have loads of possession, because then McGinn would drop into a position like a little bit deeper, or Tielemans would drop in a little bit deeper and pick the ball up. All of a sudden now we kind of just so rigid with those two players in ahead of the other two, and they don't seem to, none of them want to seem to make a movement towards or away from the ball. And that rotation, that positional rotation, seems to have gone, because that's how you confuse teams. That's how you get teams to move themselves out of position. If you're just standing still, then you're just completely easy to mark. So I don't feel like it's why I'm saying it. I don't want to be like really negative, is because I think the positives are that the what seems to be the issues seem to be quite simple to solve. More intensity, go back to what the basics of what you were doing so well before, and movement throughout midfield and throughout the team, and that's it, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if you remember it, but against Chelsea, there was this moment that John McGinn was sort of battling with two players on the left hand side, and Alex Moreno was just ahead of him. And McGinn somehow seems to, like, he manages to get the ball out, and then as he gets the ball out, a third Chelsea player comes and takes the ball, and Moreno's literally just stood there watching it like he's a
Yeah,
spectator, and he starts screaming, he's like, "Alex, come back, Alex!" And that for me summed up the performance. It was like, there's no Chelsea all getting together, pressing the ball in numbers and blocking the passing lanes, and they block the passing lanes really well. And we were just kind of, I don't know, we
after
were
you, it
just
was like after you,
underwhelming.
Claude. It was like after
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just underwhelming. I just feel like the intensity's gone out of the game, the intensity's gone out of the performances, confidence dropped from the passing. Um, you know, I think it's been one of them. Obviously, DRB got a goal, and that's positive. And I think what we've been looking for is all right. We're in a bad run. Let's do something. Let's have a really good performance that we can build on. And we did that when we beat Sheffield United 5-0. And I thought, right, stepping stone. Everyone's back. Everyone's going to be feeling great. They're going to much prefer the feeling of battering a team 5-0 than the recent performances where we've been drawing or not been playing very well. Like, had a good performance, they're gonna remember what this feels like, what they've been feeling all season, and they're gonna want that back. And I think for me, that lack of what appears to be hunger, it appears to be like a lack of hunger to get back to winning ways. I don't mind losing because it's going to
Hmm.
happen. Chelsea are a good side, and I knew that before the start of the season.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
have
yeah,
top players.
absolutely.
I'm en route to lose 100 quid to my brother-in-law because I said to him before the season, actually at the end of last season, before they even made any signings, I said that I thought Chelsea would finish in the top four because on paper their team's really good. They got loads of really exciting players. Conor Gallagher looks quite good. Cole Palmer's really good. Raheem
Hmm.
Sterling's like tried and tested in the Premier League. You know, Reece James, if he's ever fit, is a good player. Thiago Silva, one of the best centre backs in world football over the last 2 decades. Like, they're no mugs. I know they get battered everywhere, like everywhere they go. Like, I do get it, but you know, in theory, Chelsea should be a good side. You know what I mean? Like, and I think they're pretty much like maybe Villa at the moment. They just don't. They just can't see what's going wrong.
Mm.
Um, I think the one thing I would say though is I think there's an assumption around the Villa fan base that Unai Emery is quite timid and he doesn't lay into his players. He doesn't get into it, and I just don't believe that.
He
Like,
will be. He
if you
will be
saw
because
his
he
face,
has the receipts. He have the evidence. He will either do it in front of
yeah,
everyone or do it in a meeting. Like if you imagine
yeah.
you get that email from Unai Emery summoning you to a one-to-one meeting, you will be like, oh dear.
There's no question that Unai Emery is the best possible man that we can have in place at Villa, and it would take a 30 game losing streak for me to start questioning him. Um, he's shown what he can do with a little bit of time and no money last season and sort of a few additions this season. I'm not going to call him into question. That being said, it would be nice if something is clearly not working in a game. I think it would be nice if he changes it. Was it Einstein said that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Hmm.
And that's not to say the way that we play, we need to change that wholesale. But if you're playing in a game where the way that you're playing isn't working, change it up a little bit. Maybe bring on, who was it? Liverpool, not Liverpool, Newcastle, when we played them and Dan Burn um, was getting exposed a little bit when
Yeah,
Bailey came on. So they
yeah.
brought on Livramento, and it was a small change, but it just kind of shored up. Like, all right, the game's changed. A new player has been introduced. We need to react to it. And I don't think that Unai Emery is very reactive, and I think it takes us going sort of three down for
He
something
used
to
to be.
change.
He used to make loads of changes at half time and stuff like that. But yeah, it just seems like he's
It's a little bit stubborn. It's a tiny
yeah,
bit
yeah,
stubborn.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. But and I guess also you mentioned Diaby coming on scoring on a slightly more positive note. Also looked like Jacob Ramsey was making some more runs with the ball and without the ball, not necessarily just standing in that no man's land position. So maybe we'll start to see a little bit more of a sharper Musa Diaby, sharper Jacob Ramsey. I know we're
Oh,
clutching. I know we're clutching at straws here because they literally had 15 minutes to play. But
I mean,
is
look, if
is,
if
is
if
there any
Diaby
hope
gets
to be
if
had there?
Diaby gets back to form, that's a massive plus for Villa.
Yeah,
Like, an informed Diaby is a 50 million pound player that very very highly rated, and we know what he can do, and he can get goals, and he can be exciting. It was nice for him to get his goal. Um, I don't think he did much else. Jacob Ramsey's fine. Jacob Ramsey has moments like that. I'm not gonna put any stock into it until I see him do it in 4 or 5 games in a row. If I'm being
yeah,
honest,
that's true.
because Jacob Ramsey come on, have a nice little cameo against Chelsea, and then the next game he's going to be quiet. So the one thing I did notice that I wasn't a big fan of either was I really loved it when he brought on Diaby and he left Bailey on the pitch, and I was like, finally, we're
Yes,
going to get to see Diaby.
yes.
But then he started playing Diaby as a cam, and there seems to be an allergy at Aston Villa to playing a left winger. I thought what it was going to be Diaby on the left, Watkins, and then Bailey. But what it actually was Watkins, Bailey, and then in the middle, just behind Watkins, was Diaby as a second striker or a cam. And I was a little bit gutted because I was like, we can really stretch them with this, you know, we can stretch them with this formation. Alex Moreno's obviously not having any luck on his own on the left-hand side. So supplementing with Diaby. Imagine if you've got Diaby running at players, Alex Moreno overlapping, JJ coming in from that left centre mid, to support, and they can have a little triangle going on there. And it's just, I don't understand why we're so intent on only playing one winger, because what that does is it tells teams we're attacking on this side. This is where we're going.
Sai's had loads of comments, but he said play two wingers. That's what
Just play,
he's
yeah.
been
Like
saying it before.
every
Yeah,
every
yeah.
team does it. Every team stretches on both sides. I don't know why we're the only, like, and it's always the left that gets sacrificed. And it's like if Bailey moved over to the left and he had a free roam where he could kind of like, where we could change up the predictability about where our attack's going to come from. But teams know that it's either going to come down the middle or it's going to come down the right. So when you do that and you take away that sort of impetus from Villa, bless you.
Thank you.
When you take away the impetus, it does get a bit easier to read Villa, and I think there's possibly a lack of A, variation in our attack, but B, speed. We're just so slow building the ball up, building the play up. Like it has to go backwards 4 times before it can go forwards. And historically, this season that's worked. But now, I would say pretty much since the Arsenal game, I don't think it has been working that well. I think teams who are categorically worse than us have been getting on top of us, and I just think it's I don't know what the issue is. I don't know where it's come from, and it's a bit disappointing because we've got Man United. I know we've got another preview show later tonight to talk about it, but I have zero confidence for that game against Man United. I cannot see it. We struggle with Man United enough as it is, let alone bring in this crappy form into it. But this is the other again. I don't know. You never know which Villa's going to turn up. Maybe they come to Villa Park and we do them 3-0. But I think what we have learnt now is that fortress that Villa Park was is starting to be taken down brick by brick. And whilst it's still a place where you fancy yourself, I don't think it's as
He is George. He is George. If
yeah.
he's got time to be posting on him as well, he should be
He
on
should be
really.
on,
But yeah,
yeah.
he should be on. But yeah, it is George. It is George
Yeah.
incognito.
But
But yeah,
what
I
do you
was.
reckon, Rich? Do you think Villa Park, that kind of fortress tag, or like how solid we seem at Villa Park despite our away performances? Do you think that's gone or going?
I think I think you have to say yeah. Like you look at the last two performances. You look how we've kind of just been systematically broken down in those two games as well. 3-0 down early in the second half and game over. I think you have to say yes, and the writing was on the wall slightly before that as well. We didn't play particularly well against Burnley. We got the result. We didn't play well against Sheffield United. They got a draw. So yeah, I think it was inevitable we were going to lose a game, but I think I just think yeah, we need to kind of. I think the fans maybe play a part in that. Hopefully, this type of game on Sunday will give a real an excuse to really make the atmosphere intimidating. And we can't, like you said before, I don't think we can get away with that almost boring teams into submission type football anymore. I think we've got to really go at them. And I think someone in the chat had mentioned before about, where's that Villa that would, I think it might Sharik, where's that Villa from, 2 or 3, 4 months ago that would be 1 or 2 nil up after 15, 20 minutes and almost out of sight. And then you can take your foot off the gas a little bit. Then you can maybe start controlling possession. But we seem to be in that little attitude at the moment whereby it doesn't matter, we'll just keep the ball and we'll soon break them down because we know our football can do it. And then all of a sudden you like bang bang, you're 2-0 down, you're still trying to play that type of football, and it's like, lads, the game's done at the minute. Like, you can't. It's always I've always found it's always more difficult to, when you start at a position of, oh, we just want to control the game, we just want to hold the tempo and stuff, and then you get woken up and you get forced to change the tempo. It's always more difficult to do that than start fast and then drop it afterwards when you're 1 or 2 nil up, which is obviously the more positive factor. So I just think we need to get back to that a little bit. But
Yeah, I think
it's
it's
a, it's
hard
a
to.
tough game, man. Man United at home is going to be, at any
We never
time
had
it's a
much
tough
luck
game,
against them,
and
have
at the
we?
moment they seem to be kind of finding a little bit of form.
That being said, now we talk about being positive. That being said, if we manage to beat Man United and we go 11 points ahead of them, and then extend, obviously, depending on what Spurs do, potentially extend our gap to them to 5 points. I think that would be a massive statement of intent, and you'd have knobheads like Lee Dixon and Jamie Carragher shutting their mouths for a
Oh,
little
that
bit.
article, by the way. I mean, what's
He's,
he? What business has he got talking about how we should be grateful if we do something and that? Why does he care? I
I
mean,
think he's
Liverpool won a title in lockdown season. I don't remember them winning anything out, winning any other titles in the last 20 odd years. So was he saying it in that context that they should have savoured that?
he basically said that if Villa managed to get Champions League and win the Europa Conference League, then Villa fans should see it as the peak of what Unai Emery can do, and not something to look forward to for the futures. And he's basically saying, if you do something this season, then enjoy it, because it's not an indication of what Villa's future is going to be like, which is ridiculous. Because the thing is, even if you believe it, why say it?
I know, yeah, I know.
Who's
Just
the
be happy
target
with that.
audience?
Yeah,
Who's
yeah,
the target
yeah,
audience? Like Blues
yeah.
fans, all six of them. Like, what's like? I don't understand who he's playing to there. But I think Jamie Carragher, I think he's a bit of a knobhead for a start. But I think he doesn't really have much respect for Villa as a club. I think he sees us as quite a small team. He's compared us to Leicester on numerous occasions. Um, and I think at the start of the season, everyone was clamoring for the validation from the mainstream media. And, we were top of the league, but we were fourth on match of the day, and everyone was, getting getting up in arms about it. And it's like, we're not going to get that. And maybe, I don't know who said it. Maybe you said it, Rich, but you were talking about being underdogs. Someone was talking about us being an underdog. Was it
Probably
Stan
George.
Collymore? I
Oh,
don't know.
yeah.
Someone was basically saying that, Villa strive when people maybe respect us less. They come at us a little bit more, and that's maybe the position. And I think that the pressure of being favourites in big games has come to us, has kind of like gotten on top of us. So like when Newcastle came to Villa Park, we were the clear favourites for that game,
Mm.
and I think that pressure just kind of, um, you know, kind of got on top of us. And then same with Chelsea. Chelsea at home in the cup. Chelsea, like I say, they've shipped 8 goals in their last 2 games. Um, and you think, all right, well, Villa are strong at home and they're riding high in the table in fourth and Champions League places, and bloody, bloody, blah. And then obviously the time comes to I think the opportunities have presented themselves for Villa to do something sort of out of the ordinary and really rubber stamp who they are and where they want to be in this league. Um, and I think we've missed a couple of the opportunities, but
Yeah,
again,
we have. We
we've
flushed
taken
our
a
lines
couple
a
of them
couple of times.
opportunities as well.
Yeah, we
You know,
have. Yeah,
we've
the
we've
Arsenal, Man
beaten
City.
City,
Yeah,
we've beaten Arsenal, and you
beat
know,
Spurs.
yeah, we beat Spurs, and I thought that Spurs game at Villa Park is going to be tasty after what happened with Bentancur and Cash, and I think that's going to be really, and obviously for the fact that we're both fighting for top four, I'm looking forward to that Spurs game so much. But I don't want to be too negative about it. I just don't know what the issue is, and if I'm being honest as well, I don't see. You know how we always wait for players to come back. Um, oh, things will be better when X player comes back. Now, obviously, that's true with Pau Torres, and obviously now Consa. Like our defense just will be better. But in terms of the lack of emphasis going forward, there's no one I'm really waiting for to come back to make a big difference. Like Buendia coming back, I see people talking about Buendia. I love Buendia as well, you know. Um, but is he really going to make that substantial a difference where he's going to change the course of our season or the trajectory of our season?
No, I
No.
don't think this season. I think he could come on and maybe set up a goal or score you one or two potentially key goals, but that's about it, isn't it? That's about it.
He
He's not
doesn't
gonna.
start. He
Yeah,
doesn't start. He won't
yeah,
start to
yeah.
impact the game like that.
Exactly.
You know, Ollie Watkins
It's
is
down to the current lot. It's
yeah.
down to them. Yeah,
Watkins
I
is the
agree.
only striker we have at the club who's fit. If Ollie Watkins gets injured tomorrow, maybe Morgan Rogers. I don't know. I haven't really seen. I was surprised he didn't come on against Chelsea. Did I
He's
miss something?
calm. He's
Oh, he's
cup
cup
tied.
tied. Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Yeah, I thought I'd missed something there. Maybe Morgan Rogers will do something. I don't know. I haven't seen much of him. I don't know. I just don't think there's. I don't think there's. Well, right now, I think our first top six in terms of attacking players, I think they're already out there. I think Diaby, Bailey, Tielemans, McGinn, Louise, Kamara. I think that's it. There's no,
Mm,
if the change is going to be made, it's going to be made in the dressing room. It's going to be made on the pitch. There's no personnel. There's no one we're waiting to come back who's going to save us. I see a lot of people talking about Mings. Mings comes back, fine. Maybe defensively will be better, but the problem is offensively we're not very good at the moment. Like, I know we just
yeah,
beat Sheffield United 5-0, but
yeah,
apart from that, we're struggling to score goals and to build up play. So, it's up to them if they want to be Champions League football. If they want to, have a memorable season, something to shout about. You have to, especially as we're in a cup competition as well. This whole bottling it thing, you can't do it anymore. You have to step up at the big moments, and it's not historically, well, at least in recent history, it's not a very Villa trait to step up in big moments and win cup finals. And I know obviously we've got the promotion from the championship, the playoff final, but apart from that, in my lifetime, I don't think I've ever seen a crunch time Villa uh, really hit the standard. So I don't know. I'm not expectant, but I'm hopeful that we'll do
yeah,
something.
yeah. Well, look, I think we've covered it. I don't think it's reinventing the wheel. I think it's back intensity. I think it's movement, as a lot of people have been talking about in the chat. So I have looked at all the comments. Sorry, I haven't been able to put them on. Just been, obviously in the conversation with Sam. But yeah, really appreciate all your comments and stuff, guys. But yeah, intensity, movement, and yeah, ultimately taking responsibility with the players that we've got. And I think getting back to that start of the season when we were not the start of the season, because it's been right through up until the last few weeks.
You've got to say
But
something
it's down
positive.
to them to go it. I
We're being
know,
accused of being depressing.
I
Say something
know.
good. Say something good. What's going to happen?
The
That's
players are
positive.
amazing. We're gonna win on Sunday, and we're gonna finish in the top four. There you go. That is it. But yeah, no. I think it's down to the players. It's down to those players to get us out of this bit of a sticky patch at the moment. And look, what better way to do it? What better way to do it than on Sunday?
Yeah.
We're gonna leave it there. We're gonna leave it there. And yeah, we'll be back tonight for match preview for Man United, where we'll get right into it. But thank you everyone for tuning in. Sam, thank you very much for jumping on. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We'll be back for, like I say, tonight, but more lunchtime lives next week. Thank you for tuning in, and remember, we all follow the Villa. Thanks everyone.